Nickelodeon became the go-to destination for children's programming after producer Dan Schneider joined the network in the 1990s. However, shocking charges throughout the years have stained his cherished TV business. Dan Schneider was a pioneering Nickelodeon producer in the late 1990s, 2000s, and 2010s, creating famous live-action series like The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, iCarly, and others. Miranda Cosgrove, Ariana Grande, and Josh Peck rose to prominence throughout their careers, but they became much more well-known years later. Schneider has come under additional criticism with the publication of Investigation Discovery's docuseries, Quiet on the Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV. Let's look at how Schneider's long-standing relationship with Nickelodeon ended, the claims against him, and his reaction. Nickelodeon and Schneider issued a joint statement in March 2018 to Deadline, following many conversations together about next directions and future opportunities. Nickelodeon and our longtime creative partner Dan Schneider, or Schneider's Bakery, have agreed to not extend the current deal. Additionally, Nickelodeon and Schneider remarked, "Since several Schneider's Bakery projects are wrapping up, both sides agreed that this is a natural time for Nickelodeon and Schneider's Bakery to pursue other opportunities and projects." Dan and his Schneider's Bakery team have created a string of long-lasting, groundbreaking hits over the years, including iCarly, Drake and Josh, Victorious, Kenan and Kel, and the current #1 Nickelodeon hit show, Henry Danger, the statement continued. "We appreciate Dan and his Schneider's Bakery producers, executives, and social media team for their invaluable contributions to Nickelodeon, and we wish them all the best in their future efforts." And Dan and Schneider's Bakery are happy with their collaboration with Nickelodeon and will always be ardent fans of the network. However, Deadline claimed that there was more to Schneider's departure. According to the Journal, Schneider had well-documented temper issues for years, workdays were lengthy, and photographs he shared online of female performers' feet sparked worry. Nickelodeon initiated 2 internal investigations after becoming concerned about Schneider's actions. Dan Schneider was investigated in 2013 for allegedly engaging in improper behavior and creating a hostile work environment. A writer for The Amanda Show submitted a grievance alleging that Schneider had made her uncomfortable by repeatedly asking for massages, prompting an inquiry into the allegations.
There was always someone massaging him. That's like all I remember was some person on set massaging that guy.
Following an inquiry in 2013, Schneider began offering remarks to performers on Sam and Cat from his office, rather than dealing with them. Schneider informed the creators of Quiet on the Set that he was not prevented from working with the actors, but merely preferred to provide notes from his office. Nonetheless, the producer continued to collaborate with the network, developing the shows Henry Danger and Game Shakers. However, in 2017, the network began another inquiry into Schneider for alleged sexual behavior on his sets, coinciding with the Me Too movement in Hollywood. The inquiry discovered no evidence of unlawful sexual activity, but it did uncover evidence of verbal abuse in the workplace. Schneider spoke with the New York Times for the first time since leaving Nickelodeon, revealing that he had sold a new TV pilot to a new network. The interview also went into detail about the claims against him and his purported preoccupation with feet.
Dan Schneider is obsessed with feet. Check this out!
What did he reveal when Twitter terminated his account due to rumors? Schneider has been silent on Twitter for over 2 years due to social media persecution, with his most recent post including a photo of him with the Victorious cast, which includes Liz Gillies, Grande, and Matt Bennett. Following the conclusion of Zoe 101, many Twitter users claimed that he is the true father of Jamie Lynn Spears' first daughter. However, this was unverified because the show stopped production before Schneider and his team learned of her pregnancy. After years of being quiet and not making many public appearances, it was stated by the New York Times that Schneider denied he departed on bad terms, described his departure as a natural confluence of circumstances after an exhausting time in which he delivered as many as 50 episodes of shows each year. He was also aware of the posts depicting the numerous incidents in which feet are exhibited, and he deems the claims against him ridiculous. That is where he asserted that the foot-related comedy was benign and not intended to be sexual. He also mentioned that children at the time thought feet were amusing. According to what is known, Schneider was not involved in any sexual wrongdoing, although he does have a temper. Writers who have worked closely with him had nothing but admiration for him, with one adding that he is difficult, but only for his vision when filming Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh. According to the New York Times in 2021, past colleagues described Schneider as unpredictable and difficult to deal with. Others expressed worry about his requests for massages and contacting the young actors off-set. He departed Nickelodeon with a $7 million settlement, according to Page 6. The Times later claimed that the funds, as mentioned earlier, were still owed in his contract. In June 2021, Schneider told the outlet that after leaving Nickelodeon, he took a break to work on back-burner projects, such as dropping more than 100 pounds. In reaction to allegations that his series iCarly and Victorious included sexual innuendos and that he sexualized the young actors, Schneider stated that the comedy was innocent. He denied mistreating the performers and defended his managerial approach, citing high standards. Regarding his interactions with the actors, Schneider stated, "I never interacted with actors in any way, texting or otherwise, that should make anyone uncomfortable." The producer also said that he has become more gentle at communicating and teased many projects in the works, including an ambitious and very different TV program prototype aimed at an adult audience. However, nothing transpired, and Schneider remained mainly out of the spotlight. Alexa Nicholas, a Zoe 101 actor, came out against Nickelodeon at a protest about child abuse in the entertainment business. In the early 2000s, Nickelodeon was well known for its tween and adolescent programming. One popular program at the time was Zoe 101, which starred Jamie Lynn Spears. While Jamie Lynn's exit from the show was not without controversy, other Nickelodeon performers have also spoken about their on-set experiences. Former cast member Alexa Nicholas is now speaking out, claiming that Nickelodeon not only failed to protect her, but also that they support predators rather than children.
My own personal experience at Nickelodeon, as you can see here, it says Nickelodeon didn't protect me.
Nicholas said Nickelodeon tried to silence her, but she persisted in discussing her experiences, particularly her claim that Dan Schneider acted improperly against performers on the set. She described one incident of personal childhood trauma, stating,
"I did not feel safe around Dan Schneider while I was working at Nickelodeon. Actually, every time he came on set, my body got extremely tense. And later on in season 2, he yelled at me."
She was 13. She was in a conference room with executives from Nickelodeon causing her to cry. Daniela Monet, who portrayed Trina Vega on Victorious, described the show as very PC, funny, silly, friendly, and chill, yet there were some sexualized scenes. Alexa also said that Jamie Lynn Spears' account of events on the set of Zoe 101 was completely incorrect. Regarding Spears' memoir, she stated, "It's heartbreaking to watch someone not evolve after all these years. Nothing she mentioned in her book about me happened." Alexa Nicholas's charges against Nickelodeon are not the only or first of their sort. In reality, Nick fans have long claimed that Dan Schneider got away with terrible behavior on the set of several Nickelodeon series, including iCarly and Victorious, among others. Schneider has replied to the allegations, arguing that his comedy did not exceed the line and that the charges against him are ridiculous. In August 2022, former performer Jeanette McCurdy talks openly about her experience acting on Schneider's Sam and Cat and iCarly in her debut biography. McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, debuted on the New York Times nonfiction bestseller list and remained there for a full year. The book was an instant success, raising discussions about behind-the-scenes turmoil at Nickelodeon. McCurdy, who played Sam Puckett on iCarly and the spin-off series Sam and Cat, wrote about a strong, dominating, and demanding individual known only as the Creator. McCurdy said that this anonymous person coerced her into drinking alcohol while underage, shouting at her while filming a kissing scene with her iCarly co-star Nathan Kress, and explicitly requested that bikinis be included in a wardrobe fitting. Some former child performers spoke positively about working with the producer, while one veteran writer called Schneider's workplace a maddening, disgusting, controlling little bubble. On March 17 and 18, 2024, ID broadcasts the 4-part docuseries Quiet on Set over 2 evenings, showing the dark side of Nickelodeon. Quiet on Set was directed by Mary Robertson and Emma Schwartz and produced by Maxine Productions, a Sony Pictures Television nonfiction company, in collaboration with Business Insider. Taylor from Business Insider acted as an executive producer. The docuseries featured interviews with several staff members and former Nickelodeon stars, including Nicholas, Double Dare presenter Mark Summers, and All That cast members Giovanni Samuels and Brian Hearn. Klingon and Christy Stratton, writers for The Amanda Show, also took part in the docuseries and recalled dividing a paycheck when they worked together during season 1. Schneider said he did not influence pay. Aside from wage concerns, the 2 female authors claimed that Schneider showed the crew pornography on his computer and committed nasty pranks on them. Schneider's spokesman told BI that he is extremely sorry for his behavior that contributed to that environment, and that he has evolved much since then. Quiet on Set also includes footage of incidents from the Nickelodeon series that were deemed improper, such as Nicholas accidentally splashing Zoe 101 co-star Jamie Lynn Spears in the face with goo pop. Everything that happened on the shows Dan ran was carefully scrutinized by dozens of involved adults and approved by the network, a Schneider official said in a statement. If there was an actual problem with the scenes that some people, now years later, are sexualizing, they would be taken down. But they are not. They are aired constantly all over the world today still, enjoyed by both kids and parents. The docuseries also exposed 2 predatory individuals who worked at Nickelodeon and contributed to a hazardous atmosphere for kid actors. Production assistant Jason Handy and language and acting coach Brian Peck, not to be confused with Josh Peck. Handy, who characterized himself as a pedophile in his notebook, was sentenced to 6 years in jail on 2 felony offenses and 1 misdemeanor charge involving 2 girls. He was arrested in August 2003 on 11 allegations of child sexual assault involving an anonymous actor. 41 friends and family members of Peck's filed letters in his support, pleading with the court to be kind in the case. Some of these letters were written by famous people, such as Alan Thicke, James Marsden, and Boy Meets World performers Will Friedle and Ryder Strong. The letters remained sealed until Maxine Productions, one of the docuseries producers, successfully petitioned the court to have them unsealed in 2023. In October 2004, he was sentenced to 16 months in prison and had to register as a sex offender. Quiet on Set reveals that Drake Bell was the actor sexually molested by Peck when he was 15 years old. In Quiet on Set and in an interview with Business Insider, Bell stated that he struggled to absorb his experience following Peck's incarceration, but Schneider checked in on him and gave support both at the time and in the years that followed. Drake, who started acting at the age of 5, called Nickelodeon a factory that regarded kid performers as expendable. According to a statement, Nickelodeon has adopted numerous safeguards over the years to help ensure we are living up to our own high standards and the expectations of our audience. Bell admitted to engaging in self-destructive behavior, but going to treatment and rehab recently has helped him avoid a downward spiral. Following the publication of the docuseries, Bell defended his Drake and Josh co-star Josh Peck, who was chastised for not publicly commenting on the documentary or Bell. In a TikTok video, Bell stated that
he has reached out to talk with me and help me work through this, and has been really, really great. So,
Josh Peck, a Nickelodeon veteran, chimed in on the alarming discoveries from Quiet on Set, the dark side of kids' TV, and expressed his support for former co-star Drake Bell and others who spoke up about their traumatic experiences on the kids' network. I finished the documentary Quiet on Set and took a few days to process it, he said in his Instagram posts. I contacted Drake discreetly, but I wanted to show my support for the survivors who were strong enough to share their tales of mental and physical abuse on Nickelodeon sets with the world. Children should be safeguarded. Josh Peck and Bell met as co-stars on Dan Schneider's Nickelodeon comedy The Amanda Show, which starred Amanda Bynes. Their chemistry on the program led to the two actors receiving their comedy, Drake and Josh, developed by Schneider and based on adolescent step-siblings with drastically different personalities. Between 2004 and 2007, the show aired 4 seasons and produced 2 television films. After the docuseries was released in its entirety, Schneider sat down for a chat with Boogle on March 19, 2024, aka Bobby Bowman, who portrayed groovy smoothie boss Tebow on iCarly. Watching over the past 2 nights was very difficult, Schneider added.
Me facing my past behaviors, some of which are embarrassing and that I regret, and I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology.
Schneider stated that the actions he demonstrated back then would not occur anymore. He agreed that the on-set massages were wrong and that he'd never do it today. He told reporters,
I apologize to anybody that I ever put in that situation, and even additionally, I apologize to the people who were walking around Video Village or wherever they happened, because there were lots of people there who witnessed it who also may have felt uncomfortable, so I owe them an apology as well.
Regarding the charges against Schneider's writer room, the producer stated,
No writer should ever feel uncomfortable in any writer's room, ever.
He said that improper jokes or themes are common in similar situations, but he is regretful that he took part and made practical jokes that went too far. When challenged about jokes on his programs that are considered indecent, Schneider argued that they were created for a younger audience. Now we have some adults looking back at them 20 years later through their lens, and they're looking at them and they're saying, you know, I don't think that's appropriate for a kids' show, he added. I have no issue with that. If that's how anyone feels, let's take those jokes out of the performance as I would have done 20 years ago. Schneider, a former TV host, admitted to some negative experiences with his work, attributed to the pressure of producing 40 or more episodes per year. He apologized for his role in the negative experiences and expressed his desire to improve his treatment of people. He acknowledged that he sometimes lacked patience, was cocky, overambitious, and rude. Schneider also expressed a desire to return to his earlier career and do a better job. Nicholas criticized Schneider's apology on YouTube, arguing that it's not an apology if someone doesn't personally apologize. She criticized Dan for being a bully and meanie and questioned why everyone doesn't apologize directly to the person they hurt. Former Nickelodeon star Brian Hearn also criticized Schneider's apology, as shared in an interview with journalist Soledad O'Brien. Hearn found Dan Schneider's interview funny and praised his performance, despite some apologizing for Jeanette McCurdy's book. Hearn also mentioned that Schneider reached out to fellow All That actor Giovanni Samuels before Quiet on Set debuted, asking for a quote of support. The documentary, Quiet on Set, exposes allegations of inappropriate behavior, sexualization, and toxic work environment in children's television, highlighting the need for better protection and advocacy in the entertainment industry for young actors. Do you think Dan Schneider's apology is genuine? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon while you're at it so you are notified as soon as our next video is uploaded. Thanks for watching.